What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're gonna party with this little bastard. This is the Orange Rocker Terror 15. Let's do it. Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take all sorts of awesome high gain related guitar equipment, I record it with a simple SM57 setup, and I give you the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into East End or thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes that apparently are never going to recover from headbanging at the last show that they played, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button, subscribing on your way out, so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so today up on the old Mesa traditional cab, we have the Orange Rocker 15 Terror, and I'm pretty sure I said that wrong in the intro, but that's okay. This is Belligerent Amateur Central, for God's sakes. In full honesty, I bought this amp because I got a great deal on it. I didn't really know much about it, didn't really know if I was gonna like it or not. I honestly didn't even know if this thing could do the metal or the chugs, but I think as you guys heard in that intro clip, it definitely can get there, but let me preface that with saying it needs help to get there, because on its own, with no overdrives or EQs out front, it is kind of a tubby mess. Definitely not an amp that I would have associated with the tight, chuggy thrash tones that we get on this channel quite often if I had heard it without a boost and didn't know how well it takes overdrive pedals and pedals in the front to shape the tone. So just figured I would let you guys know that right off the bat. If you're looking at one of these amps and you like tight, fast, chuggy thrash tones, the amp definitely cannot do it plugging straight in. You're gonna need to help it, but I'm gonna show you how to do that here on today's video, because that's what I do. It's great. I think it's cool. You may hate it. Lots of people hate it. Before I fall into a spiral of crippling self-doubt, let's talk about the amp real quick. This is a pretty stripped down amplifier. As you guys can see, it's got your typical goofy ass orange controls here. This is your gain, this is your low end, this is your middle, this is your treble. Over here we've got a volume. This amp also has a natural sounding channel. Wow, I am really blown out right now. Maybe one of these days I'll learn how to work a camera. But anyways, that's basically kind of like your clean sound, and I don't even actually know if these controls work for that channel. We'll take a really quick look at it. Other than that, we've got a half power switch and a full power switch, and then on the back we have an additional headroom and bedroom switch. So this amp is going to be capable of all sorts of volumes. I will say it gets very loud for sure, but again, like most of these 15 watt EL84 amps, it's not going to give you the headroom that you're gonna need to keep up with a loud drummer in a hard rock and metal environment, unless you are mic'd up and playing through a PA. But I mean, that pretty much goes without saying for these amps that only utilize two EL84 power tubes. They just don't have the headroom of the larger tubes. I'm actually selling this amp in about an hour, so I figured I'd just knock this demo out while we have it. So for the demo, we are going into the Mesa 1999 traditional 4x12 cab with the stock vintage 30s, SM57 on that vintage 30, and there will be no post-processing of the audio in any way, shape, or form. At the moment, I am using my Balaguer Typhon with the Seymour Duncan distortion, and in order to boost this amp, in order to get it into that tight, chuggy, thrashy territory, I'm actually using two different pedals. I'm using the MXR M77 Badass Modified Overdrive. I use that pedal all the time. but I'm also using a cheap Behringer 7-band EQ copy. And the reason that I'm using both of those is because I'm pushing the output with the Behringer, but I'm also tailoring the low end on the EQ pedal. Now, I used a couple of very affordable pedals just because I feel like people who are playing through these amps generally are gonna be on a little bit more of a budget, so I wanted to show you the more affordable pedals to get you into the high gain tones that we typically get on this channel. But we'll check out some other overdrives and stuff because I can. So just to refresh you of that intro tone, I'm gonna leave both those pedals on. All right, man, just the way I have it dialed in right now, it is chuggy as hell. It sounds really, really good. It's got that typical orange flavoring to it where it's round in the low mids, very prominent upper mid range that grinds, sort of like a Marshall, but not quite as aggressive. And then the saturation of the gain is just awesome. It's kind of fuzzy, it's a little bit fizzy. I wouldn't call it muddy. It's just got this kind of like fuzziness to it that I really personally dig. Fills up a lot of sonic space, and yeah, it sounds really good with the pedals that we have on right now. But just to show you how much of a difference those pedals make, let's turn them both off. Here's what we got. So a decent amount of gain going straight into the amplifier, but it is definitely rather bulbous, meaning it's really bloated in the low mids, and I've noticed that a lot of orange amps are like this, and the low end is kind of slow to react as well. So that is why you need not only the overdrive, but an additional EQ to shape the low end going out in front. That is a trick that I use with a lot of amps, by the way, though, guys. I use that with my SLO if I want a tight, chunky sound out of it. So if you don't have a 7-band EQ, I'll link a couple down below in the description of this video because I think that they are incredibly useful tools for shaping your tone going into the front of the amp. Let's dial in like a couple quick high gain tones, and then we'll try the lower gain crunch stuff with a different guitar. So as you can see, controlling my right hand technique on those palm mutes, you can tighten up a lot of amps just by working on your right hand technique. Let me know if you guys would like to see a video on that. But of course, you're never gonna be able to control how fast the amp reacts to certain frequencies. So that's where a solid overdrive comes in. Let's kick in that MXR M77 again. All right, so just with that overdrive alone, I love this overdrive, by the way, it really tightens up the amp, allows it to react a lot faster, gives you more saturation. One thing about these oranges is they have a spot on the gain where it pumps in another gain stage, and it's very noticeable. And I actually think they sound better before they hit that gain stage, but it's really hard to get there unless you're boosting the front amp of the end really hard. You know what I'm saying? So you can hear just that little bump right in that area gives it a lot more saturation, but it also introduces more compression and stuff. So that's where our overdrive with the level boosted and the low end pulled back comes into play. So we still get the nice openness of the amplifier itself by keeping that gain rolled back, and we can actually pull up the low end in the front even more, or on the amp, I'm sorry. Honestly, this amp is really, really fun to hit some nice punchy palm mutes on once you've got the front end dialed in. I really, really dig that. But let's grab a guitar with lower output pickups, see how it handles the lower gain tones. Alright guys, so I have my PRS SE McCarty 594 single cut. This guitar has the 5815 LTS pickups in it, which are PRS's take on a PAF style pickup. I turned off the overdrive pedal and the EQ pedal in front. Here's what it sounds like. So as you can see, it's got a nice kind of vintage, British sound to it. And as we are bumping that gain up, the volume's coming up with it. Really loving the upper mids on that, to be honest, but it is a little bit round in the low mids. Right about here is where we're hitting that threshold for the second gain stage or the extra gain stage, whatever it is. So as you can see, as soon as that extra gain comes in, that is where the amp starts to get really tubby, really dark sounding, very round overall. I think especially if you back it down somewhere around noon and then kick in something like a good old-fashioned Ibanez TS9 Tube Screamer, you're really going to be able to get some cool classic tones out of it. Man, I might like that just as much as the high gain stuff. If I were going for those types of tones, I think that actually sounds really good. So we've still got that Ibanez TS9 on, but let's get that gain up just a little bit more. Alright, so I like that, but it's still a little round for my taste. So what if we were to kick in a Boss SD1 instead? Because the SD1 is a little sharper, cuts out a little bit more low end. Yeah, I personally like that better. It's a little bit less output, but it cuts those low mids a little bit more, so you're able to get a little bit more clarity and just, not as round of a tone. So that's enough of the low gain stuff. Let's go back into some high gain territory by testing out some active pickups. Alright guys, so I have my Ibanez Axion Label RG series guitar here. We've got the Fishman Fluence modern pickups in this, ceramic in the bridge. We are on the active voicing. That Boss SD1 is still on. We're gonna dial up the gain, and I think that's it. Let's dime that game and let's roll those mids back just a tad. Alright, so it sounds cool, but still a little soft on the low end. Let's kick in that EQ pedal again. Alright, that actually sounds awesome. The Fishman Fluence really bond with this amp well, in my opinion. Let's turn off all of those pedals up front, so we are going straight into the amp with the Fishmans. Let's get that gain up. Let's see what it's capable of on its own. let's check out a lower tuning. All right, guys, I have my Gibson Les Paul Studio Faded with the Duncan Jupiter pickups in it. We are in drop C and we have no pedals on. The amp is dialed in as you see here. Alright, so pretty flubby, pretty muddy in my opinion. Let's kick on that MXR M77 overdrive. Alright, so we are getting closer, but last but not least, let's kick on that graphic EQ pedal again, and let's see what we have now. Have I ever mentioned that I love the sound of orange amplifiers because I am becoming a bigger and bigger fan every single one that I try. I really dig that. Last but not least, let's try a 7-string. All right, guys, going straight in with my Schecter PT Hellraiser Hybrid EMG 57 pickup in the bridge. Really flubby. Not attractive at all in my personal opinion. Let's kick on that M77 overdrive again because this thing is really bonding well with this amplifier. Alright, so definitely way closer like that, but let's try that EQ pedal for our last tone because I think that that's really going to make this thing sound gnarly. Alright guys, that's going to do it for me today on the Orange Rocker 15 Terror all-tube, tiny little badass amplifier. What did you guys think of this thing? I'm really curious to hear what you guys think of the tones that I got, and if you guys have had any experience with these amplifiers before, let me know your thoughts. Personally, I think it's an awesome amp as long as you have the tools to shape it to get the tones that you want out of it. Very dark, very round overall, but responds incredibly well to pedals up front, and I'm sure putting an EQ in the loop would get you even more flexibility. I think the low gain tones on it are honestly incredible. Please, if you guys would like to buy any of the stuff that I use in this video today, I will link down below to both Sweetwater and Zounds. Those are affiliate links, and anytime you guys click on those links, it massively helps the channel, and I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, hit the like button on the way out, subscribe so you don't miss any more belligerent amateur awesomeness such as this. Kyle here again. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.